Hello everyone, Praisedscooter here, and welcome to my yearly Top 10 Games video. A video where a random person on the internet tells you what video games they like that came out in this year, and someone ends up reading too far between the lines and makes it sound like the content maker in question doesn't care about their game of choice. Me being hypocritical aside, gaming this year was a year lifted by the powerhouses in the indie gaming industry and AA developers, who we can kind of consider honorary indie devs, where people became really obsessed with horses, a television, and a clown with anxiety. Now this list is just my personal picks. It is not meant to be an end-all be-all list of what was the best thing to happen this year. I'm one guy. I haven't played everything that came out this year, nor have I played all the way through every game I've played this year either at this point. This is just my personal list of games I loved from this year. With all these little semantics out of the way, let's dive into it. My top 10 games of 2025. Number 10. Let's start this list off with a word that has developed multiple meanings in the past few years. Peak. Peak is an addition to the newly coined genre that is what a lot of folks use to try dunking on nonsensical co-op fun. Friends slot. And this game is simply that. Co-op fun. Or solo if you feel like you're built different. Grab up the 3 friends and set off on a definitely not doomed flight. When you wake up from your totally not blackout that came from your plane's totally safe landing, but you find out that you got abandoned and need to hail a new ride home. This game mixes elements of roguelike games where you climb the same mountain every day, so you can keep coming back at it again and again and again to conquer that mountain, but then you'll need to come back tomorrow and try a newly generated mountain. The fun in this game is balancing your stamina to have at least one person reach the end of the mountain while being a little bit of a troll to keep things interesting, if the game isn't trying to keep things interesting for you already. As simple as it might sound, that's really the full charm of this game. Simple game, simple goal, nearly endless replayability. Just make sure you don't get too good and leave your friends behind. If you forget rule number 1 of not leaving your friends behind, the Scoutmaster will make sure that you don't forget it. Painfully. Number 9. My number 9 game from this year goes to Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I have been through this iteration of Hyrule so many times and seen every nook and cranny, some of it multiple times. But apparently there's still some lore lost between the pages of the story, and a few pages were glued together. In this instance of Hyrule, we are actually following Zelda around as she learns of the past of Hyrule and becomes part of its culture while still trying to find her way back home. More or less a lot of the flashback points from Tears of the Kingdom. So for the second time in this game series, and no, we are not counting those CDI games, Zelda is our leading cast member instead of Link. In fact, there is no Link. Kind of. While this is yet another game in the Dynasty Warriors style of beat 'em up, they did a lot with the combat system to feel like a bag of tricks that Tears of the Kingdom in multiple ways was. Let's dissect that from the not so obvious to the more blunt. Like every Dynasty Warriors game, everyone has a standard combo system. Now in past games, not even Hyrule Warriors, the end goal is to get to the 6 weak attacks leading into the 1 strong attack combo, and spam just that combo alone. This game still has you upgrade to that point, but a lot of the characters have their shorter combo chains powered up to give those attacks more use and even more stopping power. As in, you can go through your 6 weak into 1 strong combo chain, and then have a quicker way to get a strong attack off to try and break the enemy's weak point gauge that much quicker. And it also gives you more incentive to finish your combos early, which ties into where the game definitely feels like it's adjacent to Tears of the Kingdom. 2 of the characters have specific combo chains that call to a lot of the bag of tricks that Tears of the Kingdom is known for. Minoru summons various machines that look like something you would build out of Zonai parts to do your light work and move you about the world. And I would definitely build some of these if I ever play Tears of the Kingdom again. Another character showing this bag of tricks mentality is the gameplay and combo system of Kalamo, the short Korok who is constantly being thrust into combat against their will. Every one of their combos finishes with a different element. Electric, fire, ice, wind, water, which if you use these in the right combo can break guards that much quicker and easier. Even his warrior gauge attacks let you pick elements to finish the attack with, if you're paying attention and not just button mashing like I tend to at times. Now we take that bag of tricks and bring it back into every character's hands with the Zonai devices that everyone can use. Now a few of these are tools you're familiar with from Age of Calamity with the elemental rods, but a couple other elements are in play. The main one I can think of being the fans used to counter ranged projectiles, but also ways to take advantage of the new counterattack system. A lot of the major monsters in this game now have unique attacks that can be countered one of two ways, and you can use Zonai devices to make up for the fact you missed your counter originally. Even if you want to try and break a character's weak point gauge a little early or out of cycle from their strong attacks, you can use the various Zonai devices, electric rods, fire spitters, and ice spitters, to try and shock, burn, or freeze an enemy to make their weak point gauge open a lot sooner than they would normally be. And to bring this all home, you even get to play a couple of characters that are effectively the basic enemy commanders that, while they are not someone with a special gift or superpower, are still really strong in their own rights. Like Typhon, who is basically a sword and shield character, unlike Link, but even though he doesn't function like Link, he still has his own combo play that is a little tricky to get used to, but is still a lot of fun to master. It makes me happy that the Common Soldier is playable, so I can find ways to make the Dollar Bins Brute the strong arm of the whole game if I were to push for that hard enough. In the end, it is a game that is being a bag full of tricks while being a dumb button mash. Is that a shmump section in my Dynasty Warriors game? Number 8. Well, here we go again. Another glimpse into the rabbit hole that I found myself in, and occasionally drag you lot kicking and screaming into. My number 8 game from this year goes to Chrono Gear, Warden of Time. This game delves into the deeper relations of the Hololive group known as Council, the powers of time, space, and everything in between, in an alternate timeline of sorts where they weren't necessarily idols, but keepers of their realms, their respective realms being disrupted by a shadowy force known simply as Hollow X. There is a weird trade-off, as we also explore the relations Aro Crony, our player character in this instance, has with not only the rest of the Council group, but also with other various members of Hololive as a whole. And the makers of this game feel like deep-seated fans of the various streamers that you would swear they contacted these talents themselves to get their exact words they would say in the various scenarios. As Crony, the Warden of Time, you run and jump across a wide array of levels in search of an answer as to why the 5 realms of order and chaos have been broken. You also search high and low for hourglasses and a form of currency to buy the game's OST from your home base of operations. While within these levels, you have the power of time to make yourself fast, or to make your surroundings move slower for short bursts at a time, all while doing various land and aerial bits of swordplay to gracefully bounce about enemies and platforms. And those who have played a couple other indie platformers might be familiar with this fusion of combat and platforming, as the developers of this game are the same people behind the Freedom Planet titles, Galaxy Trail. Visually, the game has so much detail put into every little corner of it. Every minor what if is explored. Namely seen when you slow down time while riding the oversized wheel full of clocks. That smug grin on Crony, and how it falls away the moment you run out of slowdown juice. But also, the music in this game is a feast for the ears. I'm mainly calling out one track, which you are probably hearing right now, which is a remix of Sana's Astro Girl, given a complete overhaul to fit a more speedy platforming feel for this game. This game has found itself in my top 10 this year for 2 reasons. If you're someone like me who likes a solid, fast platformer, this is definitely that. If you are also someone who has fallen down the rabbit hole, you will love all of the lore and social connectivity nods developers have put extensive time into with this game that will make you feel warm fuzzies while you head along your journey. Number 7. At number 7, let's give it up for some of the best friend slop with Repo. I missed the bus a bit with Lethal Company, but even with that, Repo feels like the next step forward as a spiritual successor. Personally speaking, I don't really vibe with scary games all that much, but I think being able to fool around with several of your buddies helps me get over that. There are so many times where I am running around a labyrinth of dilapidated infrastructure, talking strategy to just get distracted by something goofy and lose what's little composure I have. What am I supposed to do or think when I'm on the set of Friday the 13th and I see a burro colored like the aftermath of a 2-year-old left unsupervised with an artist's collection of oil paints, only to then get my head blown smooth off by a blind old man with a blunderbuss because I laughed 1 second too long. While I was writing this portion of the script, I think that's why I love this game so much. It starts you off either super locked in to reaching that monetary quota or psyching yourself out so you get over whatever fear you had at the start. Then, in cooperating with your friends to reach the end goal, you get caught off guard by an item or a placement of an item and spend the next 2 to 3 minutes yapping about that thing. And then you get so abruptly stopped in your jovial antics, either by a surprise attack or a very large entity breaking into the room, and you have to immediately shift to running in fear. But if you are the one who unexpectedly meets your demise, you can't help but laugh at how absurd it is that you just got snuffed out in 3 frames. On the other hand, being the one left to tell the tale as the last one alive is when you really start to feel helpless, lost, and like everything is dire. I had that happen to me in my short time playing this game, and I was horribly helpless as the new player. But clutching that out makes it all the more rewarding to be the last man standing. And hey, silver lining. Even if you do end up failing in the end, you can still beat the tar out of each other or focus the one person down you feel like caused the whole run to fail in the first place. Then once you're done with that little arena, you can go back and do it all over again. Number 6. A Sega mascot known for going fast sure does spend a lot of time playing catch up to slower people. This time, at number 6, that is no longer the case for Sonic, with Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Now, a lot of people would look at this game from the outside and get a sense of repetition seeing Sonic and friends in go-karts racing blah 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 blah. But the game itself has a level of technical prowess that not many other kart racers can exemplify, and this is in thanks to the game's gimmick being the gear gadget plates that is so multiversal that you can customize the game to the way you want to play it, down to the most minute of details. Now you might be looking at this cast of characters and think, well, who I pick must match. Nope! Though, while I'm talking about the cast of characters, this game's roster actually folds into this overall theme of celebrating everything related to Sonic, including his estranged cousins. And why is SpongeBob here? Okay, let's ignore that for now. You can select some more commonly known Sonic characters, Sonic himself, Tails, Knuckles, Amy's, yada yada. Some estranged ones we haven't seen since the GameCube era with Jet, Storm, and Wave. Some of the cool brothers and sisters that have been left estranged from this corner of the world. Ichiban, Joker, Hatsune Miku, Knights. Some characters that have only appeared in television spin-offs like Rusty Rose and Nines. And soon characters from the comic books and even rival gaming mascots. Well, except for that red guy with an M on his hat. Now that you've picked your character out of the vast cast, let's pick a kart or an extreme gear. Regardless of what character you picked, you can pick a kart or extreme gear of your choosing. And this is what locks you into your role. Speed for a high top speed, acceleration to recover from crashes and getting hit much quicker. Power to muscle through all the other racers, handling to take super tight corners. Or the extreme gear for boost to see how quickly you can give yourself arthritis trying to snake around the track to boost at speeds faster than the speed category. And of those classes and vehicles you choose, you can choose a pre-built vehicle or combine parts to make a vehicle that melds to your ideal control style. And even though I haven't messed around with it much myself, you can even decorate your vehicles to give it a decal that screams to your tastes as well. Then pick and customize a gear gadget plate. This is yet another way you can play around and tool yourself to be your perfect racer. I myself haven't unlocked all the options available thus far, but there are hundreds of options for you to mix and match. My favorite one so far is to go for a power vehicle with spin drift, quick drifts, and ring thief, where the whole end goal is to cause as much chaos as possible, bumping into as many racers as possible. Basically trying to make yourself into a great value Beyblade. There are a couple others I have not messed around with, like increasing your maximum ring cap, and giving yourself rings every time you hit a boost panel to give yourself a bit of a cushion for your top speed if you were to get hit a bit, and keep your brain active by trying to hit every boost panel on the track. The meta pick as of the time of this script being written is going all in on boost. Using the extreme gear, or surfboard, or whatever you want to call it, which is the boost class, and giving it quick charge for levels 1 through 3, adding a 4th level of quick charge, and making it so that if you use a level 4 charge boost, you become entirely invincible. Now that we're done talking about your racer, let's talk about tracks. There are a handful of tracks here that are returning from previous Sonic racing games, but most of them are totally original tracks that pay homage to nearly every Sonic game. Myself getting a lot of joy in seeing Water Palace represented here. But here's where the game becomes huge and customizable once again. Lap 2 of every 3-lap race, barring the guest characters tracks, lets first place choose another different track to play on. So we could go from the aforementioned Water Palace to White Space from Sonic and Shadow Generations, and return back to Water Palace for the 3rd lap with additional boost panels placed on the track on that final lap. This racing game is a grab bag of a race every time the word go pops up on screen, and a welcome grab bag at that. And there's more coming to keep this puzzle box of a racing game fresh over and over again. Number 5. The Katamari rolls once again, and it is such a welcome return to form, with Once Upon a Katamari. A funny story with this one for me is I only recently hopped into the Katamari train with the reroll entries, mainly because I never owned a PlayStation 2 growing up, but I did finally see the magic in this series about rolling an ever-growing ball of glue. I saw a funny social media man have rave reviews of the game shortly after beating it themselves, and in responding to him about it, was met with, "Dude, it's fine if you only played the reroll entries. Once Upon a Katamari is the 3rd entry we deserved over the others." Paraphrasing this interaction, of course. And that's all I needed to hear, and as testament to the fact we're talking about this game in this moment, the accolade was spot on. The game is more of what you like in this series. Roll the Katamari to a certain size, get a very specific item while you're rolling, get a limited number of items. Those gimmicks are all still here. But the minor tweak added this time primarily is a power-up system. A set of rockets to make you go faster. A magnet to draw in items as you roll past them that you would normally be able to pick up. And a stopwatch to, well, stop time. The 4th of these power-ups though is one of my favorites, which is the radar. This one power-up is so simple, but in today's climate of running to the internet anytime something doesn't make sense or you don't get what you want fast enough, it gives you the answers an internet search would give you. I have yet to go to a GameFAQs thread to help me find a cousin or royal present or crown added to the stage. Speaking of these newly added crowns, they act as a way to make sure you complete additional forms of the challenge of the game on each stage, and let you open up more stages, similar to how the Star Doors worked in Super Mario 64. The charm of this series has never felt more alive with this entry, and I really hope that the success of this game, as well as the previous 2 reroll entries, tells Bandai Namco that the people who love this absurd nonsense do crave more of it, myself included. Number 4. My number 4 game is Mega Bonk. This game is the perfect brain-off game. Pick your character, pick yourself a map or tier of map, run around a map looking for upgrades. Does that say clap their cheeks? Okay, so this game is very much a memer's wet dream. Full of internet jokes, wordplay puns, and pseudonyms that still get the point across of what something will do for you. Well, I hope it does. But I am so sorry for you if you are not perpetually online and don't get what it means immediately. As I was saying, the overall point of the game is to walk around the map getting power-ups either from leveling up or from the various monoliths and treasure chests scattered around the map. And this game can let you do that whether you want to turn your brain off for the day or try hard. Let me dive into that a bit. to try and make more sense of what I mean. For me, and what I have spent most of my time doing, has been turning my brain off and playing this game passively while doing 1 to 3 other things. Spamming the E key on everything I can, selecting the upgrade with the highest tier of rarity regardless if it works for my quote-unquote build, and effectively waddling around the map like a drunk after being thrown out of the bar. There are challenges though that you can approach and try hard to complete in order to gain a permanent increase to the amount of silver coins, or money used for passive permanent buffs, in your future runs. These runs require you to be optimal and make your build nearly perfect, as these can be time trial maps, or makes it so you deal less damage and enemies have 5 times more health. The characters you can use all have a minor passive skill that does completely change how you play the game, but every character can get every other character's weapon at some point to do an overlap of weaponry and weapon types. Use the Monka to climb walls to escape doom that way. Be a rad as hell skeleton on a skateboard doing drive-by boning at Mach 12. Be your typical COD player hiding in a bush and manually aiming at key targets to do oodles of damage. The list goes on. I, in all honesty, don't have too much to add to this. I say again, it's the perfect brain-off game that you can hop into long-term or just play for 10 minutes while you wait for something else. Number 3. My number 3 game from this year is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I feel like I've said this before, but it needs to be stated many times over that I only recently became a fan of the Metroid franchise, despite the fact that I am as old as the series itself. Every time now when Samus dons that Varia suit, I am in line to see what alien threat she has to call. Metroid Prime 4 puts Samus in an uncharted pocket of the galaxy that no one can reach physically or via any communication methods, and thrust into the dying cries of an alien race while fighting the not-so-subtle sabotaging hands of Silex. I want to give Silex some kind of title, but I don't want to get spoiled on the other Prime games that I haven't played yet by looking for that answer online. Get off my back! This is so stupid when I think about it more and more, but more and more, I think this is why I love this game as much as I do. It's from a technical standpoint. I can play a Nintendo game officially with a mouse. A series such as Metroid Prime that benefits massively from having a mouse. I am no stranger to using joysticks to aim, but as I've been playing more and more games on my PC, namely first-person shooter titles, the more and more I've become spoiled to aiming with a mouse and have lost all my old skills of hitting no-scopes in Halo 2. I find myself in many fights not using the lock-on feature that was a crutch for me in Metroid Prime Remastered, that I only notice is a problem when a fight requires me to do the sidestep move to avoid damage, a technique you can only do while you are locked on. In short, my damage output has gone up. My damage taken has also gone up. But also the Viola, the motorcycle, and how you move from area to area, and the overworld as a whole. The Metroid series is known to have exploration and backtracking as one of the key components of these games. In previous games, you had to wait to get the speed booster to backtrack, or you would slowly trudge your way through many hallways to get to that one missile tank you know you can get at this point. Metroid Prime 4 handles this way better by putting you on the straight and narrow until you get the Viola, which is your effective speed booster. Not only does doing this tutorialize new players to the series as a whole on what is to be expected, but does also have series veterans doing that thing they love of noticing where optional upgrades are to come back to once they have their quote-unquote speed booster and any other power-ups needed to reach or destroy that cover hiding the trinket they want. And the Viola makes going back to those areas really fun, because who doesn't like riding across a vast arid land, jumping over sand dunes, and looking cool doing it. The game also keeps the Metroid staple of not holding your hand. Unless you take the time to scan a boss and learn the lore behind the boss, the game does not do what a lot of games do and scream at you, "Hey, did you try shooting the glowing red spot?" Now there is one person added that does do something like this, but only as a gentle nudge in a direction if the game can tell you are just mindlessly wandering around, which is usually approximately every 15 to 20 minutes or so of no major forward progress, as is evident by the fact I spent 2 hours combing the desert immediately after getting my Viola. Now I do love this new character, Mackenzie. Yes, he is a nerd who geeks out and falls into a lot of the he's right behind me comedy character in an action movie, but he adds a human element to the series that is sort of overlooked, and without him has made Samus seem like this cold-hearted brute, when in all actuality Samus is also very human and reasonable. I've actually yapped about so many of the other features that I missed out on the additional feature of the psychic weaponry, which also adds a level of puzzle solving and crowd control to the overall game. Most of the Metroid series has puzzles that boil down to how do I make the closed path an open path, but now we have puzzles about throwing your power bombs to high ledges to hit a switch, curving a charge shot into a winding tube to hit a switch, and what I mentioned before with crowd control, to use the same charge shot to hit up to 3 targets to stun them, pull them apart, and single out anyone who is particularly annoying in any fight. Metroid Prime 4 has taken a well-cemented series in its ideas and warped them ever so slightly to be more technical than being a brutish shootout exploration palooza.
Number 2.
My number 2 game from this year is Pac-Man World 2 Repack. So this is a bit of a cop-out entry in picking a remake, I am well aware of this. But there is enough upgraded with this version of the game that it could be considered the 4th game in the Pac-Man World series. Now let me go ahead and dissect this from top to bottom, outward to inward. First thing you'll notice is the most obvious: appearance. The whole game received a facelift, which duh, you want a remake to receive a full overhaul. I don't think there's any game that gets this treatment that would be given the okay if it still looks like its original release. Beyond that, the remake got a full voice casting, even going so far as getting Martin T. Sherman, who voiced Pac-Man in Pac-Man World 3, to reprise his role for this game. What do we even call this? Regressive reprisal? Uncallback? Regardless of trying to quantify this role reprisal, this is how I still imagine Pac-Man speaking to this day. He's just a normal guy, but knows when it's time to step into action. Secondly, and this is the biggest one for me, the 100% aspect. In both games, remake and original, you collect various fruits associated with the series' roots. You know, the cherries, the oranges, the melons, etc. However, in the original game, you also had to gather every single pack dot in a level to get that 100% completion. This includes auto-scrolling levels where you can very easily miss those pack dots, having to play levels many multiples of times. Now, pack dots are still in the remake, but they are mainly there for the pack dot toss attack. Also, the Galaxian and its mazes are still there, but the Galaxian is considered a collectible like the fruits, and the mazes associated with the Galaxian are moved over to a side area in the main hub that does not impact your 100% completion of the individual level. Thirdly, the bosses. In the original game, the bosses were just oversized ghost robots that shared the same attack patterns between all 4 of them. Just the stages were changed to make the bosses a little more challenging. In the remake, all the bosses have been redesigned from the ground up. I was really blown back when one of the bosses was a chase sequence level that led up to the boss fight, which was unique to this one boss fight. A new addition to the repack versions is time trials and challenges. Effectively little in-game achievements you can go for that give you a little something additional to do if just beating the level isn't enough for you. Simple achievements that are tooled to the level. You know, don't fall in lava, don't fall into a pit, clear this section of the level without rolling off the side. And the time trials on top of that to challenge yourself and others to be the best pack. When a company comes and remakes one of your favorite games with so much care that it rekindles your childhood whimsy, you know you have something special on your hands. And Pac-Man World 2 Repack is exactly that for me. Before we talk about my favorite game from this year, let's take a look back at my selections so far to see if you guys can guess what my number 1 game is. At number 10 is Peak. Number 9 is Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Number 8 is Chrono Gear. Number 7 is Repo. Number 6 is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Number 5 is Once Upon a Katamari. Number 4 is Megabonk. Number 3 is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And number 2 is Pac-Man World 2 Repack.
Number 1!
My favorite game from this year is Kirby Air Riders, a sequel to the niche GameCube game that ate so many hours of my life that I think it's the reason my original GameCube broke. Kirby Air Riders isn't really a racing game, nor is it a combat game. It's some kind of magical in-between thing that is constantly blurring the lines of any genre you could place it in. If you're a racing game fan, tight lines and perfect turns will get you higher places. If you're a battle nut that wishes to see how many car crashes you can cause, then you'll be getting small boosts of speed constantly that will help you keep up with those racing wizards. But this game is also broken down into many subcategories for those that have a particular brain tick for certain kinds of racing. Now we know our car racers, that's the main thing you can probably see from this footage. We can also see top-down racing for those that really like racing RC cars, like you do in the Yakuza games. I don't know if something happened in the development cycle of this game or it was my brain, but this mode is way better than I remember it being. This version of Top Ride just feels so much more engaging that I think I like it as much, if not more, than the Air Ride mode. There's also the addition of a pseudo story of sorts that does a lot for this game in the end, letting players sample many of the minigames, stadiums, air riders, air ride combinations, and everything else in the game. It also gives a lot of love to all the many adventures Kirby has been on. Side characters and what they did, locations, the works. Speaking of characters, the cast of playable characters is incredibly vast and pays homage to almost every single adventure Kirby has been on. And also adds a layer of customization to the games that was not even there in the original game. You know, since you could really only be one character, Kirby. But you and I both know all this love is not the main reason why me, and possibly even you, are loving this game as much as we are. It all comes down to City Trial, baby. Pick a character, get into a match, collect funny patches. Oh crap, there's an event happening. Holy cow, I'm moving too fast. Oh, I died. Another event. I accidentally murked someone and now I got 17 stat increases from that. I cannot control my ride. Okay, just do better than the other racers and I got a win. What just happened? Where am I? How long have I been playing this game? One more game. And that is what this game is like to me. It is the prospect of number go up to the nth power, twice over. It happens a lot more in City Trial, but that rush and loss of time happens no matter what you do in this game. What feels like 5 minutes was actually an hour. 15 minutes is what is sun up to sundown. You forget that food is a thing, and you're just having stupid fun the whole time until something snaps you out of that trance. And for those that think this is all arcade nonsense, there is a built-in achievement list that ticks all of the boxes, pun partially intended, for those that want to aim for something specific or have an actual end goal. It could be something as simple as race on this particular vehicle, to something super specific like in an online team rally race, have all racers on your team play as Kirby on the Warp Star. I actually recently did this in a planned effort. Sakurai and his team have yet to lose that touch on what is pure distilled fun out of the box that has something for everyone that happens to lay hands on the game in question. And if this is the last time we hear of Kirby Air Ride or Air Riders for quite some time, I do believe the game will stand the test of time and have many people coming back for a comfort round of racing again and again for yet another 20 years. And that has been my top 10 games from this year. My preferences may be different from yours, and neither of us are wrong. While I am mentioning this, did you have a personal favorite game from this year? Or have your own top 10 games list? Hop down to the comment section, let me know what that is. A section I recently started doing is a most anticipated game section. For 2026, I'm looking forward to No Straight Roads 2, the sequel to the unique rhythm game crossover, The Eternal Life of Goldman, an explorative platformer that seems to take a lot of notes from the NES DuckTales game, and The Adventures of Elliot, a game that captures a lot of that original 2D Zelda charm with a handful of current age mechanical splendors. If you liked the video, hit that like button down below. It gets my works out there to everybody and recommends it to other potential viewers. If you do want to keep up with what I do for videos, everything else I do, you hit that subscribe button. I don't do these top 10 videos all that often. I tend to favor the Let's Play style of videos and showcasing some newer releases or indie games. Thank you all so much for watching this video and any other video I've made. And I hope to see you in 2026. Thank you for watching. Hey, thank you for watching. If you want to see more of this game, you can find the series playlist right up here. Also, the algorithm thinks that you'll like this other video of mine. And lastly, if you want to keep up to date on when I upload anything new, click on this icon above me. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.